Hello and welcome to today's video. We are going to be doing a reading vlog, and I literally came up with this idea last night at like 8:30 and decided we're just gonna go with it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So let me just explain, I guess, how I came to this idea and then what books we will be reading this week. So I was looking at like my physical TBR, and then also I got a book from the library, and I was looking at them and I was like, both of these are orange, like their spines are orange. And then I was looking at like another book on my shelf that I was like, I kind of want to read that in like this month. So today's reading vlog, we are going to be reading only orange books for like a week, but not really a week. I don't know. We're going to only be reading orange books in today's video. So I actually started reading the first book of this stack last night, and I recorded a couple thoughts before I started it, but I was talking very quietly, so I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to use those. So I think I might just tell you what I said last night right now. But the first book that I am reading is The Dare by Elle Kennedy. This is the fourth book in the Briar U series, and it follows Connor and Taylor. And like I said, I started it last night while I was trying to stay up for the like drop of Gracie Abrams' new album, Daughter from Hell, which I successfully stayed up, and I read 336 pages. So I read this much last night. I have this much to go, which is about 90 pages. This book is relatively short. It's only 323 pages. So I have like 90 pages left. I'm 73% of the way done with it. So obviously this is the book we will be reading first in the video because I've already started it. My thoughts right now, I don't have many, if I'm being completely honest. For some reason, I'm not like connecting to these characters that much, which is strange. I don't know why, because normally like Elle Kennedy, I would say, is like one of my top 3 authors. Top 4 maybe, or top 5. I don't know, she's in my top 5 for sure, 100%. But the last 2 books I've read from her, just like, I haven't been clicking with them for whatever reason. I literally yesterday, before I started this one earlier in the day, finished Hunter's book, which is the play. And I think I was thrown off a little bit from that because we saw Hunter in Off Campus. But like Connor, we were only introduced to him in that last book, and then Taylor's never been introduced before, so it's like these are 2 brand new characters. I know nothing about them, so it should honestly just feel like a new book, which it does, and I am enjoying it, but I'm just like, I don't know. So I'm gonna finish this today, and then obviously once I finish it, I will give you the rest of my thoughts. But now I'm going to take you through the 3 remaining books. So the first one is a book that I have seen everywhere on like Bookstagram and like BookTube, and literally just like everyone that I follow, I think, has read this book. Or like I think you would have at least heard of this book if you are like keeping up with books and stuff, and that is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. Ever since I first saw Sarah Caroli read this in one of her vlogs, which was honestly a while ago at this point, I've said I wanted to read it. I finally requested it from the library, and I was 370 something in the queue, and I only requested it like a week ago. And then I checked on, I think it was Tuesday morning, might have even been Wednesday. I checked and I was like 3:20 in line. I was like, oh, I might not even like get this before I go off to college. And then that same night I got a text from the library saying that a book was ready, and I thought it was In Stormy Weather by Chelsea Curto, which I had also requested, and I was like 12th in line for that. So I was like, that seems more realistic, even though like it was just published on Tuesday. But no, it was this book. So I was very surprised by that. This will be the second book that I read, just because I've wanted to read it for so long, and I've just heard so many good things about it. And it's a fairly short book too. I think it's also pretty fast paced, because if I'm not mistaken, it's all written in letters, which I think it is. These all look like letters, and it's only 281 pages. So this will be the second book we read. And then another book that I've been meaning to get to for a very long time is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. Yeah, Elena Armas. I also wanted to read this for a really long time, and it was on my physical TBR, and I was like, this one is like actually probably the first book that is like fully orange. These two that I was just telling you about, these are only really orange on the spines, but My Video, My Rules. But this one is like a fully orange book, and I wanted to read this for a very long time. So this one I think is a little bit longer. Yeah, it's like 437 pages. But I'm very intrigued by this one and definitely want to read it. And then the fourth book, which I'm not sure if we'll get to, but I would like to try, is a book that I actually got. I got it for $2 at the Boston Public Library. They have, at least the North End one, has a section of the library that is like $1 paperbacks, $2 hardcovers, and so that is where I found this, which is Lessons in Chemistry by Garmus. I've been hearing about this book for probably 3 years now, and it's intrigued me every single time. And then I think someone I watched was reading it recently, and I was like, I want to read that. And then I was in Boston with my friend, and we stopped in and we got it. So this one is 386 pages, so it's our second longest book, but I'm very interested. This is definitely different from the books that I would typically read, so I think it will be fun to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit. But yeah, those are the 4 books that I'm planning on getting to in this video. They're all orange. These are all the orange books that were on my shelf, other than the correspondent, because that's from the library. But I have like the 7-year slip up top there, but I think that's more of a yellow. And then all the other orange books on my shelf I've already read. But I think right now I am going to try and finish the Dare. Honestly, like, it kind of feels wrapped up to me. I'm like, what more could be happening in the next 90 pages? Like, is there gonna be a third act breakup? I don't know, but I am intrigued in the story. I'm just also at the same time a little like not fully into it. So I think I'm gonna finish this, and then I will give you guys my thoughts on that, and then we'll start our next book. Alright, I have officially finished The Dare by Elle Kennedy, and I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. It was a good book, and I did actually really, really like Connor, and I like Taylor as well, but it's like I don't have much to say about this book, if that makes sense. Like, it was a good book. I enjoyed it. I don't have anything really like bad to say about it. It just was like a book to me, if that makes sense. I mean, it was good. I would definitely recommend obviously reading this series. I really truly thought that the first 2 books in the Briar You series were excellent. I loved The Risk, which was Jay Connolly and Brenna Jensen. Loved their book. that might be my favorite Elle Kennedy book. Even though like we have all of our off-campus books, like that one was just so perfect. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 5-star. No, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. But yeah, I also have been, or not I guess have been, but I decided I wanted to like time myself reading as well. So it took me 3 hours and 43 minutes to read this book, which was 323 pages. So obviously I wasn't like fully locked in the whole time I was reading, so like that timer could be off a little bit, but I think it's interesting to see like how many pages, because like I definitely know that I'm on the faster side of like I'm a faster reader, but I just like, it's interesting to me seeing the actual like time it takes me. So the next book, which I'm honestly probably gonna go straight into, is The Correspondent. I've been looking forward to reading this for such a long time that I just want to get right into it, and I have high hopes for this one. So yeah, it's like noon right now. I think I'm gonna film a short video, really trying to be on top of videos and stuff. I posted my 4th of July in Maine yesterday, and I don't think that one's doing very well because the thumbnail is literally just like a sunset with a firework in the background, because I took no pictures while I was up there, like at all. So I was like, I have nothing. So it doesn't look very interesting, but I'll link it if anyone wants to go check that out. But yeah, I'm going to start reading The Correspondent, and I will let you know what my thoughts are when I get into it. I think that I'm still trying to gather my thoughts a little bit, but I have finished The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and I think it's going to be a 4.5 stars from me. Like I said, I'm still trying to like gather all my thoughts, but this book really like made me think, and it's definitely a different book than what I typically read. I do normally gravitate towards romance, and I also normally gravitate towards much simpler, or not even simpler, but more predictable stories. And it's like with this, there wasn't any of that. It's obviously a fiction book, like a general fiction book, which I typically don't read, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was honestly a really good change of pace from what I have been reading, and it just made me think about so many things. And like Sybil, she's the main character, how she's now going through her life as she's at the end of it, and like what she's thinking about, and how she is like writing these letters and writing these emails and interacting with these people is just like really truly made me think about the relationship that like I have with my grandparents and with like my mom and my dad, and like it's just honestly a really good book, I think. And it was very, very fast-paced. It took me under 3 hours to read this, and I read it in basically like one sitting, but I would say it's more 2 sittings. I read the first like 80 pages, and then I was tired, so I took a nap. And then I came back after dinner and after my nap, and I read the rest of it straight through, like no breaks, no interruptions. I didn't want to stop reading, which is always a good sign, but it was just like really good, and I understand what the hype is about. Like truly, I get the hype, and I think I tried explaining it to my mom, but I think I'm gonna see if she will read it, if she wants to read it. But it's just like, I was tearing up multiple times throughout the story, just at like a bunch of different moments and how they were written, and like I got goosebumps a couple times, and it's just like, it's strange to say that this isn't a 5-star for me, but I don't know, something about 4.5 stars. It's just like how I felt reading it. Would I love to give it 5 stars? Yes, but I don't think, even as much as like how good it was, I just don't feel that. But like the amount of things that she was discovering about herself as, you know, she's nearing the end of her life, and all of the things that she's thinking about and processing, like all of this new information, and like just from reading her letters and her emails that she was sending to other people, I was like, you could see her personality, and you could see how much like of an independent person that she's become over, you know, probably more specifically over the last 40 years of her life. But even before that, just like seeing her development that we didn't fully get told in like her earlier stages in life, but then getting it at the end and finding out all this information about her history and just like so many things. And it was honestly a really good book. I'm very, very glad that I decided to read it now. I definitely think that there is something beautiful about writing in general. I think that's why I'm so drawn to books and reading, and I also think it's why like I want to minor in creative writing, because there's just so many great things that can come out of writing. And I think this book, like showing Sybil and the care that she had writing everything, I think is beautiful. And I really do think it like made me think about so many things, and writing being one of those things that like I was truly thinking about. I don't know, I just think this is a very special book. I can understand why it has this hype. I honestly would not be surprised if it's on like Goodreads 2026 and stuff like that, because I think even though this came out in 2025, I mean, I'm not, yeah, it came out in 2025, but I think it would be on the 2026 list, because it's literally like blown up this year. So we are officially 2 books in. I actually have an update to the Dare. I bumped my rating down from 4 stars to 3.75. I just like, I don't know. I was going through and I was like, I rated the play, which is the book before it, 4 stars, and I liked it slightly better, so I was like, I'm just gonna bump it down. Nothing against like Elle Kennedy and the Briar U books or any of her stuff. I just feel like that one I was like the least connected in, if that makes sense. But it's like a little after 10 now, and it's crazy to think that at this time yesterday I was starting the Dare, and in less than 24 hours I've read 2 books, and I don't honestly think that's because I'm filming this video. I truly do think it's just those were 2, they were shorter books, but The Correspondent, definitely like I wanted to keep reading it, and I told myself, I was like, I'm just gonna read the Dare to stay up for the Gracie album. But it's crazy to me that I just read 2 books in 24 hours. Which brings me to the next book that we are going to be reading. So, as I mentioned earlier, the other 2 books that I have on the list, these are both of like the fully orange books, which Lessons in Chemistry and The Spanish Love Deception. And I think I'm gonna go with The Spanish Love Deception as my next book, just because it's romance. And then Lessons in Chemistry is like a fiction. So I think break it up, go romance fiction. I think that's my thought process right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to start this tonight just because I've been doing so much reading. I think I want to write my review for The Correspondent before my thoughts escape me. Obviously, I just talked about it for like however long. But I think I want to write my review, and if I'm feeling it, I will start reading this tonight, but if not, I'll start it tomorrow, probably. I want to go for a bike ride. I've been doing a lot of biking lately because my foot's been bothering me ever since my half marathon, which is not good. So we're trying to rest, take it easy, but I've already biked 20 miles this week, and I mean, it's Friday, so I did an 11 mile and a 9 mile day, but I think I might want to go for like 10 tomorrow. And then I have a friend's grad party in the afternoon, but I should be able to sneak in some reading. So today, honestly, was fully uninterrupted time, and I would have finished The Correspondent earlier in the day, but my best friend came over to drop off a loaf of sourdough, and we ended up talking for like over an hour. So I don't know, I would have probably honestly been done earlier if she hadn't come over, but then at the same time, like, would I have finished that book today? So I will update you guys in the morning on if I start this, and then if not, I will just check in when I'm a little bit into it, because I don't see myself finishing this in like a shorter amount of time that it would make sense for me to just hop on and be like, okay, I finished. Like, I think I should give a little bit of an update, but that's the update for tonight. I can't believe I just read 2 books in 24 hours, but I don't know, I'm actually really enjoying this, and I'm really glad I did it. And now I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, should I make this into like a series where I read different like books based on their colors? And in my mind, I'm thinking if I were to do that, like, I should have started with red, but I don't know, just a thought I have. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, everyone. I have a little tiny small update for you. I read 60 pages of The Spanish Love Deception last night, and then I fell asleep. Literally, I couldn't even finish the chapter, which was 6 pages left. I was like sitting up, and I was like feeling myself getting tired, and I like rolled onto my side to start reading. And anytime I roll over onto my side to read, it always ends with me falling asleep. So I'm 60 pages into the book, and I mean, 60 pages isn't a lot into a book, but I'm enjoying it. I do think we really just jumped right in, which honestly I'm not complaining about, rather than like beat around the bush. Just jumping right in, I do think is nice. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. I have to do some cleaning, and then once I do that, I'm going to read until I go to work in like a little over an hour and a half. So we'll see how much further I can get into this book, but I mean, I'm enjoying the first 60 pages of it, so that's always good. But yeah, that's my little update, and I will talk to you guys when I have more to say. Hello. Whoa. We're ignoring my hair. I let it air dry after I showered, and it never goes well. But I have finished The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and I'm giving it 3.75 stars. Yeah. I honestly think I had high expectations going into this, and then I was kind of disappointed as I was reading, because I feel like so many people do really enjoy this book. I think that's why it's so popular, but for me, it just like didn't fully hit. I don't know why exactly, but I honestly, I loved Erin, but I was not a huge fan of Lena, and I think that is why it didn't hit for me like I was hoping. I think she was definitely quirky in her own way, and I have no problem at all with quirkiness. I just think the way it was written is what kind of threw me off. And I will say, maybe with like 20-25% left in the book, that's when I was like, okay, I can deal with her. I don't really mind her. But everything else I was kind of just like, I don't love her. And she was our main narrator. It was one like single point of view and it was hers. I would have loved to have Erin's point of view. I think that would have been excellent. And then the only other thing, which this definitely bumped it down like a quarter, was, and I know this is so ridiculous to say, but it was just, it's something that like bothered me, was her friend Rosie called her sweetie so often. It was like at the end of every single sentence that they had in like multiple of their conversations, she would end her sentences by saying sweetie. And I was just like, that is getting to me in a way that I don't know why, but it's really annoying me. So that was something that definitely bumped it down a little bit for me. Sorry if you can hear my neighbor's kid outside. They're just having fun. But we are officially on to our last book of the vlog, which is Lessons in Chemistry. And I painted my nails orange to like match the video, and it matches the cover like really well. So that's really fun. But this is our last book. And I'm probably going to start it tonight. I was looking and I feel like the font is kind of small, but it's less than 400 pages, so I'll probably start it tonight. But I also do want to start editing this video because I would love to have it up on Friday, and today's Monday, so that means I have some work to do. I have to read and we have to edit, but I'm actually really enjoying this so far. It's kind of just like taking my mind off of, okay, what book do I want to read next? So just like, I had a stack of my orange books and that's what we're reading, so that's been really nice for me. But I'm going to go probably start this, maybe do a little bit of editing, and I will talk to you guys if I have an update to give you. If not, I'll just talk to you when I finish the book. Hello, I just wanted to give you guys an update because I started reading Lessons in Chemistry. I'm like 40 pages in, and I know that's not a lot, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm very, oh my god, there's a bee. I don't know where it went. I'm very interested in this topic, especially around like women in STEM in the 60s, and how she's like making herself like a part of it, if that makes sense. Like how she's fighting, as she calls it, sexual discrimination, and just all that stuff I find very interesting. So I'm excited to keep reading, and the chapters are short, which I'm very happy about, especially because the chapters in the Spanish love deception were like 20 pages long, which is quite long in my opinion. Definitely prefer the shorter chapters, but I'm outside reading. It's kind of chilly, honestly, for summer, but I woke up at 5 this morning to go to the gym and walk, because I'm working at 12 and I wanted to have time to read. So that's what I'm doing. That's my update for you. Kind of sunny, so sorry if I'm squinting, but yeah. Also, I'm outside, so all the noises, sorry about that. But I'm gonna keep reading for a little bit more, and I will give you guys an update when I have more to share. everyone. I'm not sure if I included the clip from last night because it was taken at like midnight, but I finished lessons in chemistry last night and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book, and I think that Elizabeth is such a strong female main character, and I think that she's just one of those characters that, like, I felt through the book empowered by her, and like I feel like I'm just in awe of what she did and what she accomplished in the early 60s as a woman in a scientific field of chemistry, which is not at all very easy to be in. I really enjoyed this book and everything in it. I was tearing up in the last couple of chapters, and I was like, this is so strange to me. Like, I don't even know why, but like I was tearing up. I was getting goosebumps at times. Yeah, I really enjoyed that reading this book. I think it was great, and I definitely think, you know, you need to have some interest in it, but it's I think a very accessible book, and yeah, I think this was great. So that concludes, we have now read all 4 of the orange books that were on the list for this week. So we're gonna do a quick little rundown, and I have some fun stats that I wanted to share with you guys. So we're gonna go through the books, and honestly I recommend all these books. They were all really good, and I went in expecting to like all of them, and I wasn't disappointed with any of them. Honestly, I think met my expectations or exceeded my expectations is what I would say about all of these books. So the first book we read was The Dare by Elle Kennedy, and I rated this one 3.75 stars. Now here's some interesting math. I timed myself reading all of these books, so it took me 3 hours and 43 minutes, or 223 minutes to read The Dare. It was 323 pages, so I did the math out, and that's an average of 1.45 pages per minute. And this was actually the slowest read, like pages per minute, which I find interesting because I feel like I fly through Elle Kennedy books. Also, it could have just been this book, but I think that's an interesting fact. But yeah, this was Connor and why can't I remember her name? I don't think it even says it on the back. Oh my god. Taylor. Connor and Taylor's book. I have a problem where I literally cannot remember names. But this was a dual point of view book, hockey romance. Always gonna recommend Elle Kennedy. This is the last book in the Briar U series. If you're interested, I would recommend reading the Off-Campus series, which is 5 books, and then go to the Briar U series. And then there's next gen books that are out. I've only read one of them. I've only read The Grimm Effect, but before I got any further, I wanted to finish reading the Briar U series. So yeah, the second book that we read, which this was the one I was the most excited about, was The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and I rated this one 4.5 stars. This was the shortest book we read, but my favorite of the video. I just thought it was such a fun, unique way of writing a book where it's all written in letters, and I just really enjoyed Sybil as our main character. So I feel like I'm all over the place right now, but this book, it took me 2 hours and 54 minutes to read, or 174 minutes, and it's 281 pages, and I read this at 1.6 pages per minute, which would make sense because a lot of these pages are not like full pages. Some of them are, but like a lot of them end in their like half pages or small pages, so that would make sense. But I would highly recommend reading The Correspondent. I thought it would be like a Goodreads winner for 2026, but it actually came out in 2025. So, and it won like Goodreads awards in 2025. So I would definitely recommend reading The Correspondent. I understand now why it has been everywhere the past couple months. That's because it was a great book, in my opinion. So the third book is one that I would think a lot of people have also heard of, especially if you've been in the romance book world for a decent amount of time, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. And I gave this one 3.75 stars again. I'm gonna just hit myself in the face. I feel like I'm really out of breath and I don't understand why. But anyways, this one was, I wouldn't exactly call it like a workplace romance, although they do work together. So I guess it is. Yeah, this one was 437 pages. So this was our longest book, and it took me 4 hours and 49 minutes to read it, or I can't read my handwriting. 289 minutes, and I averaged about a page and a half per minute. This one, I know I already said my thoughts, but it followed Catalina or Lena and Aaron, and I loved Aaron, thought he was green flagged all around. I wasn't a huge fan of Lena, but at the same time, like, guess who ran out of storage? Me. But anyways, we're almost done. The last and final book, which I literally just talked about a couple minutes before, Lessons in Chemistry, I already gave my thoughts, so I'm not going to expand more, but I really do think this is a good book, and I do recommend it. So this book was 386 pages long, and it took me 4 hours and 11 minutes. The majority of that was all last night because I wanted to try to wrap this up in a week. So 4 hours and 11 minutes, or 251 minutes, and I averaged 1.54 pages per minute, so basically like 1.5 pages per minute again. And I gave this 4 stars. So that is reading orange books for a week. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. Actually, I thought it was really fun to just pick books based off of like the color, because that's what I do anyways. I judge books by their covers, so I figure like I'm already doing that, and why not just make a video of it? So yeah, and I painted my nails to match, so we just got a whole lot of orange going on. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked this and want to see a different color, comment the color below. I had a lot of fun, and this is the most books I've read in a long time, in a week. 4 books in a week, which has caught me up a bit to my reading goal for this year, so that's always good. I've now read 29 books, and my goal is 60, so we're basically halfway there, but Goodreads is telling me I'm like 4 books behind, so yeah. But if you have a different color you would love to see, let me know. I would definitely like to make this a series. I think it was a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!